Right, so this is a bit of a follow-up to the previous two videos on the router table and router fence. As you can see, I've got a new router and it actually works with the winder. I've gone with a Triton TRA 001. I was a little bit reluctant to go with Triton again, but for the price, I can't find something else that competes on the Australian market. And the important thing to remember is that this has the built-in winder, router lift, whatever you want to call it. With the Triton you can remove the spring, so it's very easy to move up and down. Comes with the big winder. This is for micro adjusting, and then there's a secondary handle adjuster for coarse stuff, so that's the one that gets it up and down very quickly. So each full rotation is about 1.85 millimeters, I think, and it's 3¼ horsepower, so in theory it has a lot of oomph. This is just a test piece. It's not flat plight, and I haven't readjusted everything after playing with the router insert. I had to drill new holes, so it's not entirely level, which is why it was catching. But an example of how you could do the rabbit on the edge, and then on the shorter edge use the miter gauge to finish it off. Two main comments that came up in regards to the router table fence. One, I should probably chamfer for the bottom of the faces. That's something I've played with on my crosscut sled and with my drill press table, and for whatever reason it seems to catch the dust more rather than create a dust channel. So that might be something that I've done incorrectly in the past. Perhaps the chamfer I've added is too small or too big or whatever. So I might, because these are removable, I might play around with different sized chamfers to see what is sort of the optimal thing. The second one is to do with dust collection. Now, that's something I did deliberately leave out because I wasn't entirely certain which way I would go for it. A lot of routers will have a dust port built into them, and that'll be underneath the table. For a lot of operations, the under the table dust collection is going to be optimal. For example, if you're not using a fence, or if more of the bit is exposed than the fence and you're using that more for reference. So that's one option for dust collection, is plugging it into the router, and this does an okay job of it when dust collection is hooked up to the router on those sort of edge cuts. Alternatively would be attaching it to the fence itself. So this backplate is just a piece of scrap ply that matches these dimensions here. So I would glue and nail this down and possibly fill it with some tape or something like that, or some filler, just to make sure it's nice and airtight. Now that hole corresponds with the diameter, the outside diameter of my shop vac or fine dust extractor, and that'll just sit in like that. A friction fit is all that you would need. Alternatively, you could glue in a little plastic adapter to slot it in. Now this will probably work for most situations. However, I do have a proper dust collector. Well, it's a crappy dust collector, but it's a proper dust collector that is high volume, low pressure rather than high pressure, low volume. And that has a 4-inch port. So I could try getting one of the plastic mounts for that, doing the same sort of thing, cutting just a larger hole in here and giving that a shot. So I might do both of those and just attach it with screws for the time being to see what works best for our workflow. So to recap, I think that dust collection of some sort is necessary. I just, at this stage, am not 100% sure which way I would go for it, which is why I didn't include anything in it. Today is one of 2 or 3 days that hasn't been above 30 degrees, so it's actually relatively pleasant out here and I've got a lot to do. Also had a few questions on where I got the star knobs, the T-track and the miter track. The star knobs and bolts aren't necessary. You can get away with whatever you want to use. I actually quite like these. They're a little bit pricey for essentially just a bolt. I get these sort of jig components from Timbercon. So that's the T-bolt and the star knob. I've had no problems with Timbercon so far, unlike certain other large retailers of woodworking supplies in Australia. Timbercon's delivery is very quick. It's probably not the delivery that's the issue, but it's the processing time. Timbercon actually processes them within a couple of days, whereas a certain other retailer does not. And you can be left waiting months for your product to even leave their shipping facility. Another question asked was the placement of various things in the router table. The miter track I placed where it was because I only wanted to cut one rail. I could have placed it further in or closer into the center of the bit, and that would have been fine too, but I really only wanted to cut one rail because I wasn't sure how well that would go in the first place. That being said, it is the center of it is probably the easiest way, as the outside diameter of a lot of aluminium extrusions can vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. So that is about 104 mil from the edge to the center point, or from the center of the bit, it is about 200 mil. Incra have dimensions for their router table tops, and that's what I based a lot of these dimensions off. The key, I think, is not to have it too far back, because then as you're cutting a piece, you've got to move your arms too far out, and that can be dangerous because you lose control, as well as just plain old awkward. But equally not too far towards the front, otherwise you're not going to have enough support for the sort of material you'll be doing. This to the center of the bit is about 300 mil, which means that I could comfortably get 600 mil material on top of the table and half of it supported, so it's not going to fall too easily. For those who have bought the plans for this, let me know if they are okay plans. This is the first set of plans I've made in such detail, so any feedback would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.